Hello and welcome to the show. But before we begin, let's have the odd intro or two. Carry away. On you go, Bog. There you go.
My name is Emily Harrison, founder and director of the Akashic Academy and mentor to other lightworkers in the realm of the Akashic Records. I got to give a shout out today to Sifu Boggie, my personal Sifu. I want to invite you to open your mind to the way, the conscious way, the way of conscious mindfulness.
Hello guys, Billy Carson here, also known as 4-Bitted Knowledge with the number 4. I wanted to give a special shout out here to Sifu Boogie, and that's Sifu, which means master, okay?
Close enough.
Open your mind to the way, the conscious way, the way of conscious mindfulness, and follow the way of conscious mindfulness on Facebook, ASAP, okay? Much love from Forbidden Knowledge. Thank you.
What he said. It's when you argue with your own adverts. That's, that's a Boogie thing. And then here's our intro. Hello, and welcome. Yeah, that nonsense out the way, and welcome to Doc and Sifu. I'm sure it's the other way around. Monthly Ponderings with the awesome, the mighty, the absolutely fantastic Doc. Hello, sir. How are you doing?
Sifu Boggie, how very nice to see you, old chap.
And how's the month of February been treating you?
Well, it's been undulating, to say the least. And I think that is almost, in my life at least, there's almost like two parallel worlds going on all at the same time. One seemingly negative and one seemingly positive. But I know in this great sort of undivided world, it's all meant for a purpose, And I honestly do feel that I've been bowled over quite a lot this month by all sorts of things that just appeared out of the blue, unexpectedly. And I think that it's a big universal cosmic setup to help us to grow up. There we are. What do you think about that then?
Yeah, I can't disagree. I said, just a few minutes ago, Sometimes I think I've got a hint of what's going on, and then other times I haven't got a freaking clue. And it's I said it's very much about my name. For me, my life, it's very much Boggie, the balance between the chaos and the calmness. There's some very chaotic things, there's things that are happening, personally in my life that I should be ripped apart. It should be traumatic, and they're not great, but they are what they are, and I have to keep. You can only do what you can, and they're revealing. It's very revealing at the moment. I think it's I think it's all about, or at least for me, it's sort of showing me my still, as in, showing me, what I can handle, what I'm worth, but because I think it's all too easy. We're looking out in the world of everything that's going on right now. I think it's all too easy to lose your shit, pardon my French, and lose it altogether. If things are, and so the daoist principles for me are like, resonating the most they ever have. I'm living those principles because it's the only way I get to keep my head, because otherwise I think you could go crazy with everything that's going on right now. What about you? What do you think?
Same. I think I live by the same principles that you do, that I am 100% personally responsible for managing my own emotional and mental state. So really, I can see these are really testing times to test what I've been sort of practicing for a long time now, and that's basically is allowing everything to come in and just being okay with it, really, just accepting it, And people call that mindfulness. It's the sort of moment to moment awareness of what's going on without getting attached to it, basically. So it's a non-judgmental awareness that helps us to stay in the eye of the storm, in the calm place, so that we can actually become spectators of what's really going on. And then we can decide what choice we want to make then. So it's remaining cool, calm, and collected in chaotic circumstances. And do I get it right? A lot of the time I do, and I'm not. There's no space here for false modesty tonight. I've practiced this like you for a long, long time. And if anybody was listening and wanted any suggestions, I would say mindful breathing with a positive, open-hearted emotion. And I think what that happens is you can change the way your heart works to change the way your head works to make wiser choices based upon a wider perspective. Good heavens, I'm obviously on one tonight.
You are. Yeah. You're speaking those truth bombs. Well, you're speaking something, but you're speaking But yeah. I think that's the one thing. I used to be very daoist in the essence of modesty. Never claim anything, but I think we're doing pretty okay. When you look at other people and what's going on elsewhere, and us with our respective parent, my dad, your mum, I think we're still doing okay. I think other people would be falling apart, and we're just falling along. We're still going along. And like I say, there's other things happening at the same time that's really like thriving and really really working well. And it's just I just find this year, last year, it's just very interesting. It's just the energy. I did well. Actually, we're in the year of the ox. The year of the ox just started at the 14th, and as I was, indeed, bulls, ox, bulls. Same difference. The ox pulls the plough, and the plough tills the earth. It churns up everything, and that's exactly what's going to happen this year. But also, the ox ploughs forward, keeps going, no matter what. And I think I feel that that energy is doing the same. Is that things are going to move along, and you either move along with it, you either ride its back, or you're going to get caught up in the plough and churned up. And I really feel that energy. I really feel that's what's happening right now.
Yeah, couldn't have put it better myself. And strangely enough, for the last couple of weeks, I've had a vision of a snow plough going forward, and as it goes forward, it's brushing all the gunge away and all the snow, and it's parting it. And I get all that thing about the parting of the Red Sea. But the great plough, right, I've had that this week. But also, for some reason, and these things just come into my mind for some reason for me to try and make sense of, but Sirius as well, Sirius. I don't know what the significance of that is at the moment, but, there seems to be a seriously serious connection going on in my life, And, I know, Sifu, like you, that there are great astrological changes taking place in the cosmos. And because we're basically full of water, I think what's actually happening is the sun's rays, right? Actually, the sun's being activated by the great central sun, right? The sun's rays are actually stepping up in their performance and beaming down on us in all sorts of ways, right? Which is impacting upon the way these electromagnetic energies impact upon the way our water works, which impacts upon the way our cells and our DNA expresses itself. Now, once upon a time, I would have listened to that and thought, what a load of old nonsense. But no, the more I go into this now, the more I realize just how important electromagnetism and magnetoelectric effect is on how it affects our water and how that affects the way cells work and how our mood is as well. So the water affects our emotional state, which impacts upon the way we feel. How do we know when we're stressed and we're being overpowered by it? Because we feel tense and contracted. And this week, and I get serious now, but I've had loads and loads of people onto me in the last few weeks, especially young people who don't know what the hell's going on, you know. And I think the young people now, they've got such creative minds, but from an emotional point, they're finding it really difficult. And I am being serious now, because a lot of them are having very, very negative thoughts. They're exhausted, they feel anxious, and lots of them are having suicidal thoughts, you know. And this does concern me. And there's certain people who might say, well, that's got nothing to do with you, because, you know, each soul is responsible for itself and it's chosen this journey. Something doesn't sit right with me in that sort of philosophy, because I feel that if I can tell my story, it might in some way impact and help them to take the action that they need to get themselves out of this sort of slippery slope of depression, you know. And Sifu, I'll just say this next bit. Movement, it's so important. And that's why Tai Chi, running, waving hands in clouds, you know, and feeling the vapor of the clouds as you working through it, you know, using positive emotion, using imagination, using movements, and using breath. I think that's the thing that keeps you in a positive frame of mind. Over to you, old fruit.
And yeah, I mean, yeah, and with all of that, there's a few things that came up with that, and one of them, play, is I think you know, like without you know, my daughter went for a tough time not so long ago, a couple of years ago, and we sort of talked about that in the past, and I think, you know, she was such a, you know, as a kid, like myself, I went for a stage where I was super playful and loved the world, and then I couldn't understand the world. The world didn't make any sense. It seemed to be so freaking negative, and for a long, you know, I went through a very dark stage. You know, I tried to commit suicide myself, and I've seen a lot of people go for that, and it's that when you lose that play, when you lose that inner child, you know, I know it as, you've got the divine feminine, the divine masculine. These are energies. To me, are energies. We're not talking about divine feminine meaning women, divine masculine meaning men, but it's the qualities inside us. But there's also the sacred child, or the inner child. And when you lose that play, that's where we get too serious. Wars start breaking out. We have big arguments about, oh, I'm right and you're wrong. And we totally get the you know, if there is a point to this universe, we totally don't get it when we lose that play. And so, you know, it is being playful, and like I say, you know, whether it's, you know, running. So I know you're a great runner. I love my qigong. I do miss my ice skating, and at some stage we'll get back to that. But it's whatever you do, it's playing with it. It's allowing yourself to flow in that. It is very important, and I think, like you're saying, when you were talking about, you know, young people and also, oh, is it, you know, you're right, you know, everybody's got their own, you know, everybody's got their own mission, their own purpose. But what reminded me, and I've said this one before, but is the beach and the starfish. You know, there was a man walking across. I don't know if I told you this one, actually. I thought I did, but there's a man walking across a beach, and there was this little girl, and the beach had hundreds of thousands of starfish all over the beach, and this little girl was picking one up, saying something, and throwing it back in the sea. And the man walked over and said, what are you doing? She said, I'm saving some starfish. And he said, but there's thousands, you can't save them all. And she would say, but I've saved this one, and I've saved this one. And I think the reason I bring that up is that it's like, no, you can't help everybody, but the people that you help are important. So whoever you help is important, and he's part of your mission. And because I do honestly, I believe in service to self and service to others. As a daoist, you have to look after self first, yes. And you get people would say, not so much now actually, but we used to say, oh, that's selfish. But if you don't look after yourself, you can't help anybody else. That's the whole point. But once you're overfull, once your cup is overflowing, then your goal is to help others. Your mission, for me at least, is to help others. So, and with the taichi and the qigong, I as much as possible, I have things set up to help people. If they come to me and ask, I will help them as much. But there is a two-way street. They have to want it for me to be able to help them. Because if they don't want it, it's all very well saying, them, oh, my life is, but if they don't do that themselves, if they don't actually help themselves as well and do the things that could help them, then they're not going, it is a two-way street. So I'll always help anybody as much as I possibly can. But you have to help yourself as well at the same time. If I give you the opportunity, if you don't take it, that's not down to me, that's down to you. But if I don't offer it, that's down to me, if that makes sense. And very quickly, sorry, my friend, but very quickly, the plough. So the plough is the seven sisters, which is a big thing in Tai Chi. So the seven sisters, seven stars. Sirius, actually, funny enough, is the stars that look like, well, I actually had an ex-partner that would say it looked like Boggie. It looked like a bee. And then when my daughter was born, we said, well, that bee also looks like a K. So Sirius is actually the stars I look at when I look at my daughter and blow kisses at night. It's those ones. So there's all these people in the planet around Sirius and why keep getting kisses from Boggie? So no, sorry, it's not to you, it's to my daughter, but I love you. But anyway, so over to you.
Sirius is a binary star, isn't it? That's the thing. And it represents to me, and that's why I'm getting it. It's that polarity. It's that bipolarity. And I think coherence to me means that both poles, it's the yin-yang, isn't it? The Tai Chi, working in harmony with one another. And if one's out of balance, it will cause the other to be out of balance as well. And I see that clearly, like you say, from an energetic point of view, feminine and masculine need to work together for the benefit, if you like, of the golden child, right? And I think that that's what's happening. There seems to be a recombination of yin and yang in order to go forward so that they can plow their way through now, right? And help. See, what was I going to say then? Something came to my mind. Just bear with me and see if I can bring it. It will come back. No, don't know what I was going to say. It's gone. As they say, mustn't be meant. If it comes back later. But where I'm up to at the moment is I don't know what's coming up from one moment to the next. I know what I was going to say is sometimes you can help people when they don't need help and they should be helping themselves, because that's disabling and not enabling. And I've done that a lot. I've jumped in and helped other people when they plainly could do it for themselves. And so I step back a lot now and I watch people, right? And if I honestly feel that they can't help, then I'll give them a little nudge, But most of the time, unless people grow themselves, they can't stand on their own 2 feet. They can't put a backbone where a wishbone is, And, it's basically, and I see this clearly now, there's an energy that's flying in. Boggie, in 2011, I woke up one morning. It was about 3:33 in the morning. And there was this big, it wasn't a voice, but it was a really powerful train of thought. And it said, you need to teach people about the great shift in consciousness. Boggie, I didn't know what the great shift in I'd never heard of it before, And you know. And so I say to myself, you know, I say to my heart and soul, I say, what are you going on about? And they said, there is a great shift in consciousness occurring where people will be changed whether they like it or not, right? And they can't. It means letting go of the old and allowing the new to come in. And, you know, I didn't know, but 6 months later, I was traveling around the country talking about this ensuing great shift of consciousness. So I actually gave a talk on the 21st of the 12th, 2012. And what I was thinking then is, because people talk about the great event, I thought that at that time, there's just going to be a big flash of light and that everybody would wake up happy and be nice and all that. And I'm beginning to see now there's two sorts of spiritual awakening. There's one where there's a great big psychic change when the person does wake up and is virtually a completely different person. That is a massive spiritual awakening. But the one that's happening mostly is of what's called the educational variety, where you seem to learn a little bit more day by day and moment by moment. And it's almost as if the light goes on, like what you call one of them things that you turn on the wall and it's like a graded light thing, you know, it's, you know what I mean? So it's the dimmer switch, right? The dimmer, yeah. It's almost like it starts off dim, but over time it starts to get brighter and brighter. And I think that's what enlightenment is. It just means you start to see things from a wider perspective. So as you see wider, you get wiser at the same time. And I think that's what's happening. However, what blocks people is knowledge of what's gone on before. What I had to do basically is I had to let go of everything I thought I knew about things just to wake up with a clean sheet every morning to be shown other stuff as well. And that's still going on, you know, most of the time. Most of the time, I've got no idea whatsoever what's happening. I just trust that I'll be shown moment to moment and be able to take action on it.
Yeah, and I think it's, you know, let go and go with the flow. You know, is an old daoist saying, and I think that is the trust. You know, is that you know what you can know, you know, and what you can do about, you do about. You know, because you know the whole why worry saying in Daoism is like, you know, if there's something you can do something about, why worry about it? Do what you got to do. If there's something that there's nothing you can do, there's no point worrying about it because there's nothing you can do. And it's like, you know, you do what you can, and what you can't don't worry. You know, you'll wait for divine inspiration, wait for something to happen. You know, and it's I think a lot of people. I think where you get that, be careful what you wish for. I think. I'm not saying people wished for exactly what's happened, but I definitely think they've wished for something to change. They wanted things to flip. They wanted the world, you know. They wanted, you know, new opportunities. And it's this, you know, this has definitely done that. It's definitely opened up the world to new opportunities. And I think that's the point. Is that and you know, I said this to the wonderful Shanine, our sister. You know, in 2019, I knew 2020 everything was going to flip on its head. And you know, I hope it's the best year, better than next. Well, I don't know about that. I know it's going to be totally different. I know it's going to, and lo and behold, because I just could feel the energy, because I feel chi, and I just felt everything was going to suddenly shift. And let's say most of, you know, like, well, you know, and for me, I mean, things did flip definitely on their head, and things have definitely opened up. There's been a couple of sour things, but where every up there is a down. You know, I very much believe in that, and I know the energy of this year. I know also because it goes into the year of the ox, is that things were going to plow forward, and I think you said about this gradual awakening. I think people will suddenly get the joke, or they'll see more of what was blocked before. And I tell you what I'm actually getting is that there'll be so much pressure that the blinds that were blinding them will crack and the light will come through, that they will actually see what they've not been able to see or been ignoring, because there'll be so much pressure of reality collapsing in on itself, of the old society collapsing in on itself. People will actually start to see the truth, whatever that is. They'll start to see, at least for them, they'll see the truth for them. Things will change because of, that whole thing of there's so much pressure that it will force the old paradigm to break. It will force the old things to break, and then you'll start seeing the new light. You'll start seeing things come through. You still got to. I like the whole idea of suddenly there's a flash of light and everybody's in fairyland, but do I really think it's going to happen? I think it's a bit more hard work than that. I think we have to. We have to, as the screen goes all blurry, we have to clear the screen. We have to, realign that. That was very cool special effect then. I wish I could make claim for that one, but no, unfortunately, no. It was just a boggy synchronicity. But yeah, is that things go blurred and you have to realign the camera. You have to realign to the light. I think that's what's happening. Definitely. I mean, there was a lot of people running around like headless chickens, and I'm just seeing more and more clearly, to be honest. I mean, I'm not saying I know exactly what's going on, but I definitely see more clearly now where I wasn't sure 3 years ago how things were going to change. I just knew they were going to change. I couldn't tell you how because I didn't know, but I just knew, I could feel it, that it was going to change. Now I can sort of see what's happening. I can see the things shifting. I can see things. It's still not crystal clear, but you can definitely see what's going, things are moving and things are being, upturned, let's say. Over to you, Doc.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm very, very sensitive to energies, both being emitted from other people, and also globally as well. I can feel it. And you just said clear vision. Clear vision is clairvoyance, And what's actually happening to many, many people is they're becoming more and more sensitive. So they're just going from the coarse 5 senses to a more refined ability to pick up frequencies and vibrations. And I think we've got clairvoyance, to me, means seeing reading between the lines, seeing clearly. When I'm sort of in that clairvoyant state of really wide open, everything is beautiful. Nature looks much more vibrant. Generally speaking, it's very mundane, and nature seems dull. But when I'm sort of really, really open, I can understand what people are talking about, the beauty of nature and things like that. So there's clairvoyance, clear seeing. And then we've got clairaudience, and again, hearing differently as well, hearing tones, sometimes hearing things, right, that appear to be coming from a long, long way. And sometimes I can almost pick up sounds coming from all sorts of different places all at the same time. And then we've got the other senses as well. People's taste buds are changing, and the way people are actually smelling and tasting stuff's changing as well. But something else I've become recently is very, very touchy. I've been very sensitive to my own space, and people getting too close to me. Sometimes I can feel hemmed in by others, you know what I mean? And I think during lockdown, I think young people especially can feel that hemmed in thing. So anything that they can do to create some space for themselves and to move in that space, I think would be a really positive thing. My phrase is, if there's something playing on your mind, best get it off your chest. And what I mean by that is, imagine that your heart's opening and all that stress and tension is pouring out as you dance and sing and laugh, because my view is that when I run, I've got a feeling that my heart opens and all the gunge comes out. And then suddenly, as I feel free on the inside and I can breathe easily, my head clears and I can think clearly as well. So these are just little practical tips that people might want to try. And I'd say to them, try it, but give it a fair trial. Don't expect it to work immediately, but try it every single day. Put your headphones on, put your favorite music on, put something light on, or do it anyway. Don't even go there. But, you know, you can dance around in your underwear and just make sure the neighbours can't see, and just completely let yourself go and get it all off your chest and see how you feel at the end of that as well.
Yeah, and there's the two things for me there straight away. Yeah, there's the old in Daoism, they talk about the golden pill, is that, you know, people expect, we've got into this thing of, oh, you know, like, you do thing once and everything, oh, you know, I learned a few lessons of taichi and then I'll be a taichi master and you know, everything. And it's like, no, life has never quite been like that. You know, it's a progression. You build up, it's doing everything. But, you know, with that at the same time, you said about, you know, you've got to have your releases. You've got to have your ways of letting that gunk out. You know, like, yeah, dance around. Now, see, this is where I'm going wrong. I dance around in my underwear in front of the neighbours. That's where I'm going wrong. But anyway, you know, being light-hearted and you know, never take yourself or anybody else too freaking seriously. It's one serious quote I have. Never take yourself or anybody else too seriously. And you know, it's that whole thing. But yeah, for me, daily practice of stuff is important. Trying to find ways, having 10,000 ways of relieving your stress, not just focusing on one, doing it in different ways. And I think that's what these last 2 years is all about, is that we've been flipped. You know, we was in the rat race and now suddenly the rats are loose. You know, the race has been stopped. The maze is collapsing. And so it's finding new ways to, and, you know, and you sort of like, well, you know, this whole thing of we've been, one interesting thing will be after this mayhem sort of resolves, when we can go back to not having to be 6 foot apart, how many people will actually feel claustrophobic being closer than 6 foot to people? You know, like, you know, because we talk about personal space, we've had, in some ways, you know, you've had that void pushed onto you. Oh, you must keep, and that's like, you know, like this very not positive, subtle message being played. You know, that if you come too close, you know, you could catch something, and people will have this fear for a period of time. I think where, you know, actually being intimate will be an issue. And that will be another thing we'll have to deal with. But I think it's this whole thing of, these things have been put in place to, however they originated. I've always felt that the universe is divine and everything is perfect. And even this chaos is perfect in the sense of it is perfectly what we need for us to grow and move forward. You know, is that things have happened the way they've happened because it allows us the opportunity to grow from it.
And stress and tension and anxiety and depression is massive now in this. Lots and lots of people are going back on the drink, taking drugs, smoking more. But I've just read a study just before we came on, a study of 45,000 people in Scandinavia, and the obesity and overweight has increased rapidly in the last 11 months. And it's tipping people into type 2 diabetes, because what's actually happening is, when you're stressed, your body responds perfectly to the signals that it receives, because your body's a faithful servant of the mind, if you like, or whatever. So if the body is continually being told, I'm under stress and tension here, it will try and harvest and energy and fat is the greatest form of potential energy. And so the signals that we're receiving is eat more fat, eat more sweet stuff. The sweet stuff is for the short term, the fat is for the long term. And also when it's cold as well, it provides protection against the cold. So we've got all these instincts naturally in us, right, that are actually causing all these health problems as well. And most of this, Boggie, as you know, is going on below the level of our consciousness, because we might be saying to ourselves, I don't know what's the matter with me. I just don't seem to be able to stop eating. It's not greed. It's not gluttony, it's stress. So anything that you can do to reset the balance and get back into emotional calm will stop that impulsive behavior, or at least it will regulate it and better, And so my thing now is helping people to reconnect with their bodies and their essential selves and being kind to themselves, not jumping on the bandwagon of having a go at themselves of, oh God, look, I'm putting weight on. It's bollocks. It's nonsense, that type of talk. These are really, really difficult times. So please, let yourself off the hook. Be kind to yourself. And as soon as you do that, you'll start to get a better menu of options. Over to you.
And yeah, that's really important. There's an interesting, one of the many things I study psychology, and that thing of where, in learning, a lot of people go for the short, they go for the narrow path of negativity, like if you're doing something wrong, they berate you, or you berate yourself. Oh, Boggie, why did you do that? You're such an idiot. And that doesn't actually work. Negative reinforcement just creates more negative reinforcement. And we actually learned this through, like I did child development as a teenager and at school, and then I continued it in Open University, and the whole understanding is that with teenagers and everybody, not just because we are still a child, even when you're 102, you're still a child inside. But that negative reinforcement only creates more negative reinforcement that you don't actually grow with that. It is positive. So praising somebody when they do things right rather than telling them off when they're doing it wrong is how people best thrive. It is known. It's evidence there, the scientific evidence there to show this. But we still have people that focus on, or even ourselves. We may be loving to everybody else, but how many people berate themselves and tell themselves off really harshly and negatively, but would never dare do it to anybody else, but do it to themselves all the freaking time. And it's like it goes back to that this topsy-turvy world of, we see that being focusing on ourselves is selfish. You should always, it's everybody else you help, but not yourself. Being negative yourself is worse than actually being negative to everybody else, because you're the one who's been deprived. You're the one you're bullying yourself. You're actually torturing yourself, and so that's really important. And so this learning to be loving to yourself, learning to give yourself a freaking break. And like I say, if you're stressed, find ways to relieve the stress rather than telling yourself off for being stressed or eating too much or not getting up. Find ways to correct that. Find the things that will give you the urge to do a positive thing. And it's one thing you say it so many times, and there's the great Animal is a friend of mine who plays 5/8 music. The heart, I think, the focusing on the breath, focusing on breath work, the heart, listening to your heart. Now the Daoists, I've had this ever since I was about 12 years old. If the heart expands when you ask it a question, that's a yes. Do what that needs to do. If you get fearful or you feel heavy and contracting, that's a no. And I've listened to that, and you have your version of that as well. And it's getting people to stop listening to hear, and that's where a lot of the berating comes from, is the monkey mind, the forebrain, those 60 to 90,000 thoughts that they've that science has said that we have. A lot of them are freaking negative, because that's where it sits and resides. Start listening to the heart and feeling your own heart, and feeling, not hearing or listening as such, feeling. And this is what we need to get back to, is that the world is, all that pressure is going in the forebrain. You need to move your intention down to your heart and start listening to your heart, feeling your heart. I think that's important. Over to you, Doc.
F off.
I beg your pardon.
What that means is F off. Focus on feelings first. Focus on feelings first. So Dr. Joe says F off, right? And that'll catch people's attention. I am going to write that book. It's called the there's no F in stress if you focus on feelings first, right? And I learned that to quiet the mind, you have to feel your way out of it. You have to feel your way out of it. And you know, the technique I teach is called cultivating an inner smile. You know, that's Taoism. It's Mantak Chia. It's all that, you know. And then when you've got that smile, you can smile through and smile down all the organs as well. So you can also use your imagination, use your breath, and use focus to smile into your liver, smile into your tummy, smile into your spleen, scan the whole body, smile into every single nook and cranny and cell of your body. And it works. It works because it almost sends like a resetting energy to the electrical system of your body. And every single cell is like a mini battery. And the more that we can get sunlight to it, right, the better. The more that we can get out into nature, because the sunlight will impact upon the water. So we need to drink plenty of water, right? Eat as well as we can, you know, as well as you can afford, as natural as possible, you know. But the most important thing is, to thine own self be true. Find out what your strengths are, what your innate abilities, the abilities and skills that you were born with. Do more of that. And there almost seems to be a great big push now to have everybody being the same, being like automatons and standardized. Now, I'd have to say that I'm completely and utterly against that. I think what we need is something called collective individuality. Don't compare yourself to anybody else, because you're not like anybody else. You are a unique, potentially brilliant individual. And most of us have allowed ourselves to be talked out of that. And I'm not saying, you know, become some sort of a big head. What I'm saying is, find out what you really enjoyed when you were a child. Find out what you got lost in. Go back, reconnect with that playful child and do more of it now. You might be 30, 40, 50, 60 years of age. Go back in there, because the soul of that child wants to play out. And you'll find the more that it plays out, the more that you will be vitalized, and the more that your thinking will change to the positive. And this is what I think, Boggie, when they're talking about the embodiment of the light body. I think what's happening is the light body now, with this great shift that's coming in, is sparking up once again. It's igniting. And people are so confused because they've got all these feelings. And that's because the real self is trying to break out and kick away the false self, the counterfeit self, so that it can come through. And I feel like the Pope now, or the God bless you, but I feel like the preacher to say, just give yourself a break. Kick away everything that's not you, that's been socially engineered and programmed in you. Let all the old programs and conditions go now, and allow your essential self to come through and play out with other souls as well. There we are. Bless you all. In nomine Patris et Filio et Spiritu Tui Sancti.
Indeed. What he said. It's all about it's all about finding that passion, whatever it is, and this is what I love. I mean, the things I'm involved with, animals, Wave. He's here on YouTube, Vimeo, and it's all about finding that passion. It's all about, and I think, you know, I love the old saying of the next revolution will be the evolution of love, and it's all about getting back to this, finding the things that you're passionate about, and I think that's our goal. I really do believe that in a way that, there will be new. I remember hearing so many times with entrepreneurs saying, you should be doing what you're passionate about, and people say, well, how can I make money, from that? And it's like, well, if you're passionate about it, that means other people are passionate about it, and they would want to learn your passion. And I think we got to stop. But it goes back to that we were talking about the berating. I think we got to stop pushing down ideas. Where as we were kids, we would come up with these wonderful imaginations. We came up with wonderful ideas, and it was adults that would berate it, would knock it down because they were taught to knock it. They had theirs knocked down, and it's like, well, it's like what Simon says. Simon says, or the misery gut says, let's knock everybody's beliefs. But I think you change that by evolution, by revolution. We've got to start, we ourselves have got to start changing things. We ourselves have got to stop going down that same pattern, because that same pattern is only just circling down the drain. We got to change things around, flip things around. And I think that's what is really important now. And I think that, in its own way, that's what last year and this year has been all about. It's flipping things on its head. It's giving you the opportunity to change because you've got no freaking choice. It's forcing you to flip things around because of the mayhem and because, of that pressure people are feeling. It's, maybe that's the whole point. That pressure is what's cracking the lens, is what's blurring the screen, and then you have to refocus and find a new way of doing it. And I think that's really, really important. I think that's, you've got to start, you've got to, find the things that, especially right now, find the things that bring you joy and do them as much as you possibly can. And in one way or another. I think that's what's important. Over to you, Doc.
Vitality. Find your vitality, your essential self, right? And allow that to guide you and navigate you through this. This is about moving from instinct. Forget gut instinct now, because to me, gut instinct is protective, it's defensive, and we need to start letting go of our defensive and starting taking some risks. This is my feeling. So we move through instinct, through the intellect and the knowledge that's been blocking us. So sweep aside that now and start working on intuition and inspiration. And how do we do that? You put your hands on your heart like that, and you breathe in a big smiley feeling, and you collect all the stress and tension, and you breathe it out. So you breathe in love, breathe out fear. Whatever you want to do, breathe in faith, breathe out fear, breathe in good, breathe out bad. Whatever unlocks your heart and reignites your passion based upon what you're skillful at. And the more times you do stuff that you're skillful at and become better at it, the stronger you'll feel in yourself. And then you can maybe start on the things that you're not so good at then. But to start from a point of insecurity, working on your weaknesses, it keep you in the trap forever, because you'll never get any good of what you're not good at, really. And I have this approach called the I am approach to health and well-being, and to me it's all about something called inner resourcefulness, where you tap in and find your innate abilities. Innate means the things that you're born with. So this is Wu Wei, effortless effort, because you still need to take action, but it's in the direction that you're naturally flowing in as well. And you said it quite clearly. How do you know you're working with your natural essential self? Because you feel good and you're flowing. Well, how do you know that you're not? Because you don't feel good and you're not flowing, really. So it's dead easy. So how do I know what choice to make? Project into your mind a future where you're taking an action. And if you get a feeling of, woo, that seems like the way to go, guess what? You might want to go that way, And if you get maybe that's not the direction, And honestly, It does seem that simple. You know, Sifu, I think that disease and illness, it comes from attitude. I think that we need to just be able to change our deeply hidden attitudes so that they open up and we step our way through fear one little breath at a time. You know, because fear blocks, and fear blocks creativity. And there's never been a time ever where we've needed creativity more. But it's not me it's me coming up with the ideas, you coming up with all yours, pouring them all out onto the table, picking the good bits and trying to use them to help everybody in these very difficult times that we're going through.
Yeah, 100%, Doc. And it's reminding me of again, sort of what's happening within the communities I'm in, Paradigm Shift, with the Vibrio, with the Animal Kingdom. And it's this thing is your strengths, focus on your strengths. Well, I for 20 years, I get people saying, "Oh no, you should learn to do that. Oh, you can't do that. You should learn to do that." And it's like, why should I stress myself out doing something that I can't do and I'm not enjoying doing it when I can find somebody who can do it for me who really enjoys it? Oh no, you have to learn to do it all yourself. And it's taken me 20 years to give myself permission to go, bollocks, I don't have to do that. This is how I'm going to do it. And I'm watching with these communities where people are doing the things they really love, and then other people say, "Oh yeah, can you do that for me?" And then I'll do this for you. And these communities are blooming. They're really, they're coming alive because you're doing what makes your heart grow. And if you can't do that, you find somebody who can. And that's what community should be about. That's what reality should be about. Not doing the things that you hate just because society says you should do it all on your own, because no, you shouldn't. That's why we don't thrive, because we're so desperately trying to juggle all 120 balls while they're on fire, while you're getting poked with sticks, rather than, here's some balls for you. You would like these sort of balls. You can play, you can juggle them for me. So it's going back to this thing of, go with your passion, and then that passion will lead you to other people who also want your passion, and then you can work together and work in community. I really do. Just talking about this is making me more excited. Surprise. But it's, I think this is what it's all about. This is really what it's all about.
I agree, and I think that the great shift, it's a disintegration of the old, and I think that everything's disintegrating. The whole system is falling apart for a very good reason, and that's why education needs to be turned upside down. In my view, and I'm a big thing about education, is to try and teach standardized stuff to all children is like, it's a sin as far as I'm concerned. Our children are not our children. They come through us, not from us, so they're already potentially, they have this innate ability and skill that needs to be nurtured. It's like a seed. It needs to be watered. It needs to be kept an eye on. The ground needs to be tilled and made sure it's okay. And the seed will grow itself. It's like the acorn, isn't it? The acorn becomes the mighty oak. Just needs a bit of water and a bit of nutrients, and it will become what it was born to become. And I'm really, really big on that. And there are schools like Rudolf Steiner schools, Maria Montessori schools. All these are basically about, like the Tibetans, listening in and watching intently as a parent to see which direction the strengths of the child go in, and then adding resources to help to grow those strengths, right? And I believe, like you've just said, I honestly believe there's almost like the round table where one child will be good at art, one will be a mechanic, one will be a mathematician, another one will be a painter and decorator, another one will be a medic. So there'll be like 12 different skills where everybody's doing what they're good at for the benefit of the community. So I see I'm on the preacher mode again here, but I honestly believe that that's what's going to happen. And that 12, Boggie, will then link up with another 12. So this is a matrix now. I see this as a crystalline structure that's enveloping the whole world. However, there could be unscrupulous authorities who try to obstruct this to get their ends. And I don't think they've got any chance in stopping that anymore, because I think that this force that's driving this positive wave is actually going to smash them out of the way. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about there, but I think it do.
I think you're right. I think, you know, you look back at, like, you know, the 60s and the heavy movement then, and I don't think it had enough momentum. It wasn't grounded. You know, it was very spiritual, very loving, but it wasn't grounded. But now things are great. You know, you need mind, body, and spirit. You need the divine feminine, divine masculine, and the inner child. And I really, you know, like I say, I'm in some of these grassroots, you know, organizations that are building up, and I'm seeing things flip. You know, I'm seeing a possible social network that's positive, that's actually working with the divine feminine. You know, the main leader, Dr. Z, she's female, and she's very freaking passionate about what she does. And But you know, because I'm shadow banned on Facebook and shadow banned on TikTok and this, and I'm always getting banned. You know, I've been banned from a mountain when I snowboarded, so you know I'm used to being banned all the freaking time. But it's this, you know, and you need rebels like me, you know, to point you to the way, to the Tao. But the whole point is that I really do feel things are changing, and I'm seeing this change and very heartfelt. You know, stuff. Yes, they're still fighting against it. They, whoever they are, there are still people who don't like it because they like the old paradigm. But I don't think they're going to win. I feel that change. I feel a shift in the air, a shift in the cosmos. I can feel it happening.
I got that yesterday as Joe. You need to move from philosophy to philosophy, and I thought, oh, very good, I like that. You know, I also got another one as well when I run, because these things just come into my mind. You know, I'm going to move away all this fear mongering and scaremongering. I'm going to be a love mongerer, right? And when I say love, I'm not talking about oochie coochie, but that can be. I'm not talking about romanticism. I'm not talking about that. That can be part of it. But I'm talking about love to me is understanding the potential of all human beings. Nobody gets left out, right? Nobody at all. It doesn't matter whether you've got a full physical body or a full mental this, or you're a bit missing here and this, that, and the other. Every single person has got a consciousness that can be added to for the good of all, you know. And we talk about for the good of all, you know, I really mean this, that nobody can be excluded from this, because forget the physical body, forget the ego mind. This is about souls. It's all about souls, you know. And if you can look past the physical and into the eyes, because as you know, they are the windows of the soul. If you can connect eye to eye and face to face with somebody and feel the depths of their soul, that's what I really, really think true communication is, because something magical happens when you link at that level with anybody, you know. And where two or more are gathered, more information flows through to help us all to go forward. I am definitely becoming the next pope. I can feel it happening. Right.
Well. I'm coming up with Boggie law, you know. So you can be the next pope. I'll just rule the earth, and everything will be love. Every place will have an ice rink, of course, and everything will be 5 to 8 in the 5 to 8 hertz, which is the love frequency. So that's just 3 of the Boggie law so far. But what he said. And you know what? It's been so interesting for me, our chats, you know, our monthly chats, and the direction we've gone in the last like year, the way that thing's gone, and we're very much, you know, this is what's, you know, love. Feeling love. This is what we need to focus on. And I just love the way it's going. So it's, brother, as always, this has been a great one. Thank you so much. Is there anything you want to say before we wrap it up? Because I know we like to.
Only to everybody, you know, what you're looking for isn't out there. It's in here. You know, so don't be asking anybody for advice. I mean, by all means, listen to people. But in the end, take all the information. Fully informed consent. That's what we want. So take all the information from all sides, bung it in your heart and soul, and then ask your heart and soul, please show me the way of the Tao for me, my personal Tao. Because I honestly believe there is a form, there is a structure, but once you learn the structure, you can let go of the structure then, and now allow your own individuality to sort of infuse that structure. So that makes sense. But all I'm saying is, look, if you get stuck, just tap on your heart, sink deep, breathe slowly and gently that feeling of love, and then just say, please show me. And I swear to you, it sounds daft this, but I was shown this technique nearly 30 years ago, and my life has been transformed for the better just by practicing this simple step. And as Boggie said before, listen to your heart. Listen to your heart. Thanks, brother. I love you like mad. I'll see you next month, if not before.
Yep, indeed. And well, I know you, me, and Sis must do a show at some point as well. Do a free show, a show with three of us. That's free show.
That'd be good.
That would be good. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Brother, I love you loads. Thank you very much. Everybody else, until next time, it is goodbye from me. It's goodbye from him.
Bye-bye, chaps. See you next time.
And bye from all of us. Love, Chi, and Shen. Let's do an outro with the intro. Boggie out.